Hi, I'm Dr. Troy Rand, and welcome to our breast cancer video seminar, our monthly topic of the month. Um, this is a very personal subject to me, okay? So why am I sharing it with you? Well, real quickly, I'll share it with you. I only had one aunt and one uncle that I was close to growing up. My uncle died of brain cancer before the age of 50, and my aunt died of breast cancer before the age of 50. Okay, so I was kind of going through some of this with both of them a little bit, and know how devastating cancer can be to the individual themselves, but also to the family that it affects. Okay, the problem I saw a lot of when we were going through this was that everything was focused on the treatment of the cancer and not where it came from. Okay, so really if you look at any effect, which cancer is just an effect, that you always have to trace it back to the cause. If we would simply get rid of the cause of the problem, the effect itself would go away. Okay, so this is where my why began to grow a lot. Was just going through some of the cancer struggles that are out there, and being fine one day and horrible and dying the next is basically what happened with my aunt. She was given a good prognosis going forward, and 2 days later she was dead. So there's a problem with that. Okay, we can't just ignore the cause of everything and just worry about treating it. Okay, so that's what we're going to talk a little bit about tonight. All right, first we're going to talk about healthcare, because obviously that's where our problem begins. Okay, a little bit about genetics, the fact that it's not a genetic issue. Okay, and really the 4 parts to cancer prevention that I think are relevant. Okay, how to be fit, how to eat right, how to think well, and how to improve your body's performance. Okay, because if your body's performing at its ultimate level, then you're not going to have to worry about getting any of these diseases. Okay, so in the United States we have a healthcare crisis, obviously, and it's just getting worse with this managed healthcare and Obamacare and all those kinds of things. All right, so the number 2 killer in the country is cancer. Okay, 1 in 4 deaths is due to cancer. The problem is it's a very preventable lifestyle disease. Okay, but we never do that, and we never talk about that. All right, the fact that it's preventable, and it is just your lifestyle that triggers that disease. Okay, so we could prevent a lot of deaths. All right, over 570,000 deaths were estimated in 2011. Okay. But yet, the sites that all these stats that I find them are on, they say they're doing a better job and most people are living. Okay, how can we be doing a better job when 1 in 4 people are dying from cancer? Okay, you have to look at what's behind all this, the money behind the machine, all those kinds of things, because people are getting it and the same number are dying is not improving. Okay, so the U.S. spends over $2 trillion per year on sick care. Okay, that's over $6,500 for every man. Okay, and the figures might even be higher than that now. For some reason, I think I just heard last week that it's up over $8,000 per person we're spending on health care. Okay, what's it getting us? Nothing. Our quality of life is decreased as we get older. We're sicker and more people are on medications to help control lifestyle issues. Okay? We have to start thinking differently. All right? We have to realize that there's 2 healthcare systems that need to occur in this country. And one is the current sick care system, okay, which we need, okay, for crisis care and for emergencies and for surgeons when something serious happens. When I cut my arm off, I want somebody to be able to help stop the bleeding and sew it up so we can function and continue to move on and live our lives. Okay, so we do need that crisis care aspect of it and some of those other things. Okay, but we can't continue to wait. Oh, now I have cancer, so now I need to go in and get treated for it. Okay, we need to be proactive with our lives and quit just going around with blinders thinking it's okay to go to McDonald's and sit down all day. All right? There's consequences for everything in life, and this is where we need to look at it and we need to move forward. Okay? So sick care and crisis care are very important services, but they're not our health care. Okay? Health care is our responsibility personally. Okay? The choices we make on a daily basis determines our health care and our health level. All right? So what we're doing currently is not working when it comes to breast cancer specifically. Okay? So one of my pet peeves is the whole turning the world pink in October. Okay? It's great to bring breast cancer awareness to the forefront, okay? But unfortunately, none of that pink ribbon campaign money or anything goes to educating the public on how to prevent cancer. The only education that pink ribbon campaign brings about is educating people on their treatment choices and options for cancer. Okay, that's not effective. Okay, so I got a short video I want you to watch that's going to explain a little bit more about that. So I'll get it queued up for you here.
Breast Cancer Action was started in 1990 by a group of 6 women living with and dying from breast cancer. They were frustrated and angry that their voices weren't heard, they couldn't get the information they needed on the causes of their disease, and even on the treatments available to them. Today, Breast Cancer Action works to carry the voices of women affected by breast cancer to inspire and compel the changes necessary to address and end this epidemic. We do this in 3 ways. We work to put patients before profits, we work to stop breast cancer before it starts, and we work to understand and address the root causes of the inequities in this breast cancer epidemic. Breast Cancer Action advocates to put patients before profit. We get in front of the FDA to shift the balance of power at the FDA from Big Pharma and to bring women's voices forward so that no new drug is approved unless it works for women. It must improve overall survival, have fewer side effects, or cost less and be more available to more women. We follow the science and present unbiased information for women through our fact sheets, webinars, and newsletters so that women can make their own informed choices, free from pharma influence. Our fact sheets on topics such as mammography, the facts and just the facts, and the environmental links to breast cancer get in the hands of tens of thousands of women across the country. Our newsletter is a regular digest of what's happening in breast cancer research and treatment so that women can get the truth behind the headlines. Our toll-free number is a resource for women across the country so they can get one-on-one support and information, making their own choices based on their values and priorities. Our Think Before You Pink campaign holds corporations accountable by unmasking pinkwashers and demanding companies that profit from affiliating with breast cancer take steps to ensure their products don't contribute to the disease. Our Think Before You Pink toolkit is a resource for advocates so they can get out and launch their own Think Before You Pink campaigns, holding corporations accountable for their role in the breast cancer epidemic. Breast Cancer Action works to understand and address the reasons why some women are more likely to die of breast cancer than others. We work to effect the system-wide changes that protect all women, regardless of how much access they have to information.
So as you can see, there are organizations out there that are trying to prevent things and change things. One of the funny parts of that video, not funny necessarily, but eye-opening, is did you see a pink bucket of KFC chicken in there? Okay. Do you don't think all the processed stuff that they put in their chicken and all those kinds of things is maybe leading to breast cancer or trying to triggers things? So it's funny that they try to support it and lead to breast cancer awareness, but their products are causing some of the cancer and environmental toxins that are out there. Okay, so we have to look at those things. All right. So before we get into the actual cause and all those kinds of things, I want to let you know one of my favorite quotes. We cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them. Okay, that's exactly what we do with cancer. Okay, we look at a cure for a disease. Okay, well, what if we got rid of the cause of the disease? Then we wouldn't have to worry about a cure. Okay, the reason this isn't happening in our society is because there's no money behind prevention. Okay, there's no money behind people being responsible for their lives, making the correct choices, learning from people that can teach you the correct things to do, and go from there. Okay, right now we're in an event-based system. Okay, to where we have an event, which is basically breast cancer, so we treat the event. Okay, we need to start thinking about processes that lead up to those events. Okay, and we need to start making those lifestyle changes on a process basis rather than in an event. Okay, this is why our mantra that we teach works so good at preventing disease. Okay, rather than waiting to treat something after you already have it. But first we need to clear up some misconceptions, because there are a lot around cancer, okay? Especially breast cancer now, okay? Especially with Angelina Jolie doing what she did, having a double mastectomy because she had the breast cancer gene, okay? Cancer is not genetic. Pure and simple, it is not genetic, okay? Our genes have only changed 0.5% in the last 10,000 years, okay? We were hunter-gatherers back then, and we never had cancer, okay? True, we had to worry about getting eaten before the age of 30, but we never had cancer to deal with, okay? We've been living in an industrialized world for over 200 years, but genetically we're not programmed for that yet, okay? So we need to take that into consideration when we're living our life. We need to be up and moving around. We need to be eating the correct things and feeding our body what it needs. Due to our sitting, we can't just let our body slowly begin not functioning the correct way. Okay, we have to make the positive lifestyle changes. Okay, so there's a new thing out called epigenetics. It's not really new at this point. It's been out for probably 3 or 4 years at least. What they're finding, okay, is that just because you have a gene, it doesn't mean you have to have the disease. Okay, so basically what epigenetics is, it's the study of heritable changes in phenotype, okay, or gene expression caused by mechanisms other than the changes in the underlying DNA, okay? So what that means is, just because you have a gene doesn't mean you have to have the effect of that gene, okay? The gene doesn't have to be turned on to be working, okay? So these changes may remain through cell divisions for the remainder of the cell's life, and may also for multiple generations. However, there is no change in the underlying DNA sequence of the organism. Instead, non-genetic factors cause the organism's genes to behave or express themselves differently. Okay? So lifestyle determines gene expression. So just because you have a cancer gene does not mean you're going to get cancer. Okay? Real easy demonstration of this for adults. There is a gene in people that cause hangovers. Okay, it's called that. There is a hangover gene. All right, they have found it. They can identify it, and those kinds of things. All right, but if you do not consume enough alcohol to turn that gene on, do you ever get a hangover? No, you do not. People don't get hangovers just to get hangovers, okay? You have to have that alcohol, consume enough alcohol to turn that gene on to get the effect of that gene, okay? Same thing with breast cancer. Just because you have the breast cancer gene does not mean you're going to get the disease, okay? As it said in that video, a high percentage of women that have breast cancer don't have any of the risk factors, okay? So it's the lifestyle that we're living that is turning that gene on, whether it's a toxic lifestyle, which is hard to avoid, whether it's sitting all day long, whether it's your nervous system not working correctly, whether it's living in chaos. Any of those things is going to turn those genes on, okay? So the cause of cancer for years has been genetic in nature. But new research shows that the onset of cancer is preceded by epigenetic abnormalities, okay? So that is huge. Even what the medical community is putting out there is saying that it is lifestyle that is causing these cancer abnormalities, okay? Epigenetic mutations are central to the cause of cancer, okay? But if we do not cause these mutations, then the cancer doesn't develop, okay? So it's been established that the environment, diet, and lifestyle measures lead to cancer development, okay? By inducing both epigenetic and genetic makeups. All right? Stress induced by dietary and environmental agents may activate transposable elements that lead to management and alteration of epigenetic status. There is also an intrinsic reversibility of epigenetic state. Okay? So that last statement is super important. There is an intrinsic reversibility of an epigenetic state. So just because it has mutated doesn't mean it can't go back to the correct form. Okay? That is super important. We don't ever think about that in cancer. We don't ever think, oh, we can just get rid of it, or we can kill it, or not have to do it those kinds of ways. All right? You can reverse those changes by starting to make the correct lifestyle changes that need to occur. All right? So as you can see, it's not bad luck or genes why people get cancer. It's from their daily choices that they make. All right? And you see that reference in there? That was from 2010 study of applied physiology. So that was a medical journal that published these results. Okay? And there's a lot of them out there. All right, so it mentions stress. Okay? So we have to look at the stress response in our body. Okay? How it's balanced, and where cancer can actually come from. Okay? So we live on a daily basis trying to balance the stresses in our life. Pure and simple, there's positive ones, there's negative ones, and we have to balance those stresses. Okay? If we have too many negative stresses on our body, the stress response is going to get activated. Okay? This is completely normal. This was designed to save our lives 10,000 years ago. All right? This was designed when a saber-toothed tiger jumps out at you, this is what causes you to run. You don't have to think, oh boy, I need to run. You're already running before your brain's thought about it. Okay? It's the stress response that saves our lives. Okay? But these days, the stress response is killing us all because it's on all the time. 10,000 years ago, it was on when we were trying to save our life, and as soon as that life-threatening event was over, it turned back off. Okay? Unfortunately now, our stressful lifestyle is just leaving this stress response on. Okay? So the best way to prevent this stress response from running rampant is to make sure your positive stress outweighs your negative stress. Okay? That's the best way to do it. So we have a picture here basically of this stress response. So one side you have your gas pedal, one side you have your brake pedal there. Okay? The gas pedal is what saves your life when that tiger jumps out at you. All right? And the brake pedal is what heals your wounds when that stressful event's over. Okay? But the thing is this quote right here is super important. You can't be in growth and protection at the same time. Okay? That's from Dr. Bruce Lipton. He's a PhD biologist, very, very smart man. And it makes sense that you can't be protecting your life and growing and developing your life all at the same time. Okay, so this balance is super, super important. Okay, and unfortunately, we're leaning this way to where our gas pedal is just stuck on in a lot of people, and more importantly, in a lot of children nowadays. Okay, so a lot of kids are just developing like this, and this is why the breast cancer numbers are starting to get younger and younger and younger. Okay, so let's just look at the stress response in cancer. Okay, we're going to specifically break down what happens in the stress response. I'll try to save you all the boring, gory details, but there is scientific reason behind what happens when you get breast cancer. Okay? The first thing that occurs with the stress response is an increased cortisol. Comes out of your adrenals. Okay? This is what triggers that stress response. Next thing that happens, your heart rate goes up. Your blood vessels get tighter. Okay? Which leads to your blood pressure going up. Okay? Would it make sense that when your blood vessels constrict and get tighter, that your cells aren't getting the nutrients they need to function at the right level? Okay? It is impossible for them to work the correct way unless they're getting the blood supply and the nutrients that they need in order to work correctly. Okay? Another thing that happens is decreased cellular immunity. Well, that's just obvious. If your cellular immunity isn't working the correct way, that's when mutations occur. That's when cells can change what they are because there's nothing there to protect them. Okay? Decreased serotonin levels. Increased clotting factors. Okay? Once again, thickening up that blood. All right? Insulin resistance. All right? Once again, affecting how your circulation is within your body. All right? And where your energy's coming from and all those kinds of things. Increased feelings of anxiety and depression. Decreased anabolic hormones like growth hormone and testosterone. This is a very, very big one when it comes to breast cancer. Okay? Not very many people know what growth hormone's for, but besides the obvious reason it's there to help us grow and develop, the other major thing that growth hormone does as we age is it keeps our organs the same size. Do you understand what that means? That basically it's going to stop the mutations from occurring and keep them from growing. Okay? And keep them at the correct size they're supposed to be at. All right? Increased sensitivity of sensory systems, including those for pain. Okay? Increased sensitivity of your sensory systems is going to excite your nervous system, which is going to excite all of these, okay, and is going to keep this cortisol coming out, okay? So this is what's going to create this continual chronic stress response that never goes away. Once this chronic stress response just keeps firing, it's a matter of time before all these things occur, okay? And before these lead into things such as heart disease, or they lead into cancer, or they lead into diabetes, okay? This is all the same for every disease, okay? We just happen to be focusing on breast cancer because of October, all right? But this is what occurs, is once this loop just keeps going, we can't stop it unless there's an outside force to interrupt that, or unless we start making the lifestyle choices we need to, okay? So let's talk about the ways to prevent or shut the stress response off, okay? Not necessarily off. I guess I put that in there incorrectly. We don't want to shut it off because we can't shut it off. We just need to balance it the correct way, okay? So being fit, all right? Daily exercise is a requirement. We have to get up. We have to move, okay? There is no other way around this. We can't be healthy and live our ultimate life if we don't have a daily exercise routine, okay? Excuse me. Strength training 3 to 4 times a week, okay? So did you see one of I missed the last one I didn't go through, the protein degradation of muscle, okay? Our muscles break down when they're in that chronic stress response, okay? The easiest way to stop that is to build new muscle, okay? So strength training is huge, and especially in women as they age, they lose 10% of their muscle structure in every decade of their life. Okay? So strength training is huge to prevent breast cancer. I mean, it is the most important exercise, I believe, to prevent that. Okay? There are a lot of things out there that say walking's the best thing, all those kinds of things. I don't necessarily agree with that. But it's a very good thing because you're up and moving around, but you cannot skip strength training. It is very, very, very important. Okay? Interval cardio training daily for 15 to 30 minutes. Okay? And when we say daily exercise and cardio training, we don't mean going out and running for an hour. Okay? Because research proves that interval training, okay, which is sprinting and then walking or jogging and alternating those, okay, allowing your heart rate to come back down before you get it spiked back up again, that is more effective at changing your blood chemistry than going out and running for an hour. Okay? So it is very important that you know the kind of training that you're doing. So, as it says, endurance cardio training is not as effective as intervals. Okay? A big thing about being fit is to stop sitting down. Okay? Genetically, we were only designed to sit down for 3 hours a day. All right? 3 hours. Imagine how many hours people sit in a day. They sit down at work for 8 to 10 hours. Then they come home and they sit down in front of their television after they eat dinner when they're sitting down. So we could sit down legitimately 10 to 12 hours in a day pretty easily. Okay? But we need to limit that. We need to get up and we need to get moving. Okay? Train like an athlete and train for the rest of your life. Okay? Train up until you die, basically. Okay? You don't want to ever stop exercising. Okay? Exercise has to be a lifestyle and it has to be a priority. Okay? It has to be something that you put into your daily routine. All right? Eating right. Quite simply, eat live food, not dead food. Okay? 95% of what comes out of a box is dead because it has been processed so much that there's not any nutrients really left in there that your body can use. Okay? Even though there might say there's ingredients on the boxes, that's really not real food. Okay? So we want to make sure we're eating live food. All right? Vegetables at every meal and eating 5 times a day. All right? We need to eat frequently to keep our body getting the nutrients that it needs and keep our metabolism going so we don't gain that weight. Okay? Drink lots of water. All right? We don't want to be drinking any of those other substances. Diet Coke is horrible. Okay? Any of those diet drinks are not a good choice, no matter what, especially for trying to lose weight. Okay? Proper supplementation. Okay? We can't get all our nutrients from our diet. It's just not possible because our food's not as fresh as it used to be. It's not produced the same way it used to be. So our nutrient level in even the real food we're eating is not as high as what it should be. Okay? So we have to supplement. We have to take a multivitamin. We have to take a fish oil. If we're really trying to prevent cancer and we have a family history of it and those kinds of things, we need to be taking some kind of an immune support product to help our immune system work as good as it can be. Okay? The best one I found out there has calcium D-glucarate in it. Okay? Calcium D-glucarate is proven to prevent cancer. Okay? Probiotics and digestive enzymes, because 80% of our immune system is in our gut. Okay, and if our gut and colon are not healthy, then our immune system can't work the proper way, and that's going to lead to cancer down the road. Okay, and then we need to look at greens. Okay, the reason we need to have some kind of green supplement every day, in my opinion, is because we can't get enough vegetables and enough nutrients otherwise. And it helps to balance our body pH out. Okay? This is huge with cancer in general. Okay? Cancer likes an acidic pH. And that is what we have when we're in that stress response. That is what we have just from our general diet that we have as far as the American people. Okay, we have an acidic pH diet, okay, which breeds cancer. Therefore, the reason it's the number 2 killer. Okay, so greens are really alkaline, so they'll balance that pH out on a daily basis. Okay, all right. My ideal plate example is basically you have half of it, which are your fruits and vegetables. You have a quarter of it, which is a meat protein source. Then your other quarter is going to be very good quality whole grains. Okay, we want to make sure that we're not consuming too many grains. Okay, because we don't need them. First off, we don't need a big quantity of them, and second off, they cause a lot of inflammation in our body. Okay, the other thing is you want to eat breakfast every day. Okay. The way I solve a lot of these things, because who wants to really eat a salad for breakfast, is if you have a greens drink and a protein source, and you put some fruit in it and make a smoothie in the morning, voila, you have all your things that you need for that first meal of the day. Okay? So that's what I do for my breakfast every day of the week, is I have a smoothie in the morning. Okay? Because that way I get my vegetables and all those kinds of things. All right? Think well. You have to live life consciously. What does this mean? It means that you have to be conscious of every choice that you make. Okay? If you go out to eat, you need to be conscious of the choice you're making. Okay? So you have to be prepared for those kinds of things. All right? We can't just walk around thinking there's no effects for the choice we're making. Okay? We can't go to McDonald's or Burger King or all them places and expect there's not an effect to that. All right? We have to live consciously and make those correct choices. Okay? Organize your day the night or the weekend before. Okay? You need to live an organized life. We're all super busy. Okay? I have 5 kids. I have 2 offices. I am super busy. So on Sundays, what we do is we get our food ready for the week. All right? We cut up our salad for the week, keep it in a glass bowl so it stays fresh all week, get our vegetables ready for the kids' lunches for the whole week, all those kinds of things. But you have to be prepared. You cannot go around chaotic and not knowing what's going on, because that's where McDonald's comes into play so easily. That's where you go out to eat every night of the week, because it's just easier when you're not prepared. Okay? So you need to decrease your stress load. You need to do some kind of meditation, some kind of relaxation, something along those lines. Celebrate life. Okay? This is something we don't do nearly enough of. We focus on the negatives that are around us and not the positives. Okay? We always go to bed thinking, man, this went bad today, this went bad today. Well, what if you go to bed thinking, man, I'm grateful for this today. Okay? This was just awesome. When you hit a major goal that you're trying to reach, celebrate it. Okay? Quit letting the negatives affect you more than the positives. All right? Loving relationships. Okay? There's all kinds of research out there that shows that you need to have loving relationships around you in order to be successful in the person you want to be. Okay? Turn off the television. There's nothing good on television. Period. I don't care. You know, even though my wife's in the Navy and she works for the government, and you know, things aren't real good in the government, we don't watch any of that stuff. Okay? There's just no need for it. We don't need to be putting more negative thoughts into our head, and that's exactly what the news does. It's exactly what the world does on TV and all the negative ads that are on television. Okay? Because medicine is not the answer to our healthcare problems, okay? And until we think differently and avoid all those topics, we're not going to be able to get out of the situation we're in, okay? 7 to 9 hours of sleep every night. Sleep is huge. This is when your body recovers. This is when your immune system fights things off. This is when everything gets taken care of that happened to you negatively that day, all right? So you have to get your sleep. Improving performance. This is by far the most missed aspect of breast cancer prevention, breast cancer treatment, any kind of disease treatment, anything. Okay? All right. Our nervous system controls everything in our body. All right? It's quite obvious. God designed us to be able to heal ourselves. Okay? So we developed on our own, and we developed from 2 little cells into this multifaceted organism that can function on itself, by itself, with no outside input. Okay? Without something to tell us when our heart to beat, or our lungs to breathe, or any of those kinds of things. All right? So an important thing is your nervous system actually is what is responsible for that stress response we've been talking about. Okay? This is how we are self-healing and self-regulating. Okay? So what happens though is if we look back, we think back to that picture I showed you of the balance of the nervous system, there's a part in there called a subluxation. Okay? What a subluxation is, basically our outside environment pushes our body to the point to where it can no longer adapt to those stresses. Okay? Whether it's a trauma, whether it's the toxins we're putting in our body because of food, whether it's the negative thoughts we're putting in our head because of watching the news, okay? Whatever, those 3 things, and that lifestyle leads to subluxations, okay? Subluxations are an interference in your nervous system function, okay? So if we do nothing to remove these subluxations, our body is hindered forever, okay? Because the subluxation is to the point to where your body can't adapt past it anymore, okay? All right? So unless somebody goes in there and removes that subluxation, your body's never going to function at 100%, okay? Chiropractic is the only thing that can detect the subluxations and remove them if they find them, okay? So the goal of removing the subluxations is to balance that gas pedal and the brake pedal part of your nervous systems. Okay? This then helps your being fit, eating right, and thinking well to be as effective as possible. Okay? Because just because we told you how to eat right and how to think well and how to be fit, if your body is getting interfered with and it cannot function the way it was designed to, then those choices are not going to have the effects you're looking for. Okay? If your nervous system is not functioning correctly, they can't work the way that we discussed. Okay? It's really important you understand that. This isn't I just go out and exercise. Okay? Or, I'll just eat right. Okay? And we had a patient come in yesterday, as a matter of fact. They think the way they're going to get off their medication is just by eating the correct way. Well, that's not necessarily the best solution. It is everything together. Okay? The reason we have Be Fit, Eat Right, Think Well, and Improve Performance put together is because that is what has to happen together. Okay? Because the Be Fit, Eat Right, and Think Well lead to subluxations and push your body to the point to where the subluxations occur. But if we don't do anything for those subluxations, then we're not going to ever be able to push past our limitations. All right? So, chiropractic is the safest and most effective form of healthcare. Bar none, there's nothing that compares to our safeness or our effectiveness. Okay? So here's a picture just of how our body works. You can really think of it as a fuse box, really. If you come home and the power's out in your house, you don't go out and change all the light bulbs in your house. That wouldn't make any sense. You go down to the fuse box, see if there's a fuse switch, a fuse stripped, right? Okay? That's what this is showing. Basically, these are all the bones in your spine. The nerves come out of your spine, and then they go and they send all these organs the messages that they need from your brain in order to function correctly. Okay? The other thing, though, is the organs send messages back to your brain, so your brain knows how to adapt and how to change the chemistry of your body and those kinds of things. That is how we function. Okay? But if these bones are subluxated, obviously the messages to and from these organs are not going to are delivered correctly. That's what's going to lead to the conditions on this side over here. Okay? So when we have breast cancer, which is over here, we go into a medical doctor and they're going to treat our breast cancer. Okay? So that's the effect. but nobody ever comes back to look at the cause. Okay, this is what chiropractic does, is it looks for the cause and corrects the cause so the effect's no longer there. Okay, it is quite simply that easy. Okay, so quick recap, cancer is not genetic. We have to get out of that thinking that, I have it, I'm just stuck with it. Okay, it is completely preventable. All right, this is very important. We have to start making the choices. Okay, cancer prevention is based on a lifestyle of being fit, eating right, thinking well, and improving your performance. Okay, it is not based on one of those things. Okay, we cannot eat right and exercise and think everything's going to be okay. It is just not possible. Okay, and cancer prevention is for the whole family. It's not just for the adults that are worried about getting it, okay? Because all these changes start to occur in the kids, because the kids develop with that gas pedal stuck on, and that's their normal, okay? This is not to get off the breast cancer topic, but ADD, autism, all these childhood illnesses, this is the starts that going to lead to cancer down the road, okay? Because they're in the stress response, and they're not going to come out of it until something's done with them. Okay, so it's a complete package. You cannot do one or two of these things and expect them to work. It must be all of them. And here's the big thing. This is why it's in red. On an ongoing basis for the rest of your life. Okay, this isn't a while I have it kind of thing. This is something we do forever. Okay, so basically for a more detailed breakdown of the 4 areas, we have previously recorded content on our website. Okay, you can go to randfamilywellnesscenter.com, and we have a Be Fit section, an Eat Right section, a Think Well section, and an Improve Performance section. Okay, but you must remember it's everything together. Okay, so yes, it really is this simple. All right, not everything needs to be complicated. Okay, that's what is happening with cancer and heart disease and all those kinds of things. People are complicating it. It is really not that difficult. If you change how your body's functioning, then you'll change the outcome of cancer. Okay, so for more information or any questions you may have, because we just covered some pretty tough topics pretty bluntly. Okay. So please email me questions you have at randfamilywellnesscenter@gmail.com. Okay, and I already mentioned, we do have another educational opportunity on the internet. So if you'd like a more detailed program on how this all works, when we break it down more specifically, you can go to randfamilywellnessuniversity.com, and that will give you some more detailed information. Okay. So please email me any questions you have, and please remember, it's everything. We have to be fit, we have to eat right, we have to think well, and most importantly, we have to improve your body's performance and make sure it stays performing at ultimate levels for the rest of your life.